have shown that they can compete at the highest level. Oxygen NA have been able to beat Carbon in the previous couple of finals, but Carbon looking incredibly strong. The way been seeing them playing, they've been getting every single Raptor. They've managed to take every Raptor as they spawned. I think in one of the games they took it first two Raptors as they spawned, then they managed to grab two Raptors after that yesterday, and it was looking like they had a lot of control on the map. Same with Oxygen NA. They both, again, another strong team. I suspect this is going to be one hell of a semifinals.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a matchup that a lot of people were expecting to see in the finals. So, Carbon, Oxy NA. I actually have a draft ready here, Gems. Do you just want to get right into it? Because we did take a break after game one of our first series. Why don't we just have some more Paragon?
I'm ready to go straight into this as well.
All right, so we got the Cowboys versus the Carbons. This is going to be game one of our second best of three semifinal of the day. And starting out with our couple of bans, we've got an Aurora ban from Oxy NA and the Sparrow ban from Carbon.
Strong bands. I mean, Oxygen NA respecting that Aurora that comes out. I mean, they might have a composition that can counter it under their sleeves, but I felt like they just don't want to deal with it. And the ban on the Sparrow coming out from Carbon means that I suspect Carbon are going to try and grab this Murdoch early. They're probably going to try to grab Murdoch and try go for a wombo combo with the long arm of the law. With Sparrow being down, he is the next strongest carry available as well.
Yeah, we shall have to see. The first pickup from Oxygen NA is going to be the Decker from Mario Rivia, one of his preferred heroes. And the counter from Carbon is going to be a Steel and a Rampage.
Really strong picks from both sides. I mean, Oxygen, we know, love Marty Rivia on that Decker. Arguably his favorite champ. They always put a high prioritization on it. But Carbon, they do get two other picks, which are incredibly strong as well in their own rights. Two big, beefy fighters that can punish Decker quite easily as well.
Yeah, indeed. So they've got two of those big melee fighters. We'll have to see how they're able to work with it. As Oxygen NA, they're going to get the Howitzer for Arsenic, and then, like we were talking about earlier, the early Murdoch pickup for iCameron, which, as Oxygen NA play it, they, as I've heard from some of their players, they just like to have that long arm of the law across the map so that whenever they get the stun lock onto a hero, say with the Countess that they've had in the past or any other stun in the game, pretty much, they can just put the long arm of the law and have that extra bit of burst damage as they're going for the pickoffs.
Yeah, it's prioritized. It's more of a takeaway from Carbon at this point. They don't want to have two stuns with Long of the Law. You don't want to steal ult with Long of the Law at all. And they don't need to prioritize the jungler too much just yet, or even an offlaner. And they get a solid pick on the Howitzer as well.
Yeah, indeed. They love to get those farm-hungry heroes, and it's something that Oxygen NA, we've grown pretty used to from them, showing up the dual caster. Heroes that benefit from having the early level lead. They just love to put heroes solo in the side lanes, two in the mid lane, and take control of the map from there. Next two pickups for Carbon is going to be a Gadget and a Grux for them. So, you know, it's an interesting draft being set up right now. They've got quite a few of those tanky, burst, CC heavy heroes. Now, something brought up from the earlier series today, are we going to see level prioritization on the Steel?
It depends. I suspect Steel will be in the off lane with Rampage and support, so Steel will be allowed to just sit there and farm. So will most likely be taking that up. I predict in general. He will be able to hit level 5 incredibly quickly, and I also do like the Grux pickup from Carbon. I mean, Sevrog was also available, but we have seen a lot less Sevrogs in recent time. Bloodmore is also electing to go for the Grux over the Sevrog a lot in recent games. Grux has incredibly quick clear, can take objectives really early, whereas Sevrog does struggle with things like that. So the Grux allows them to take the Raptors, as we've been seeing Carbon doing in recent games.
Well, someone else who also likes to play the Sevrog is Meds, as we see it picked up here for Oxy NA, and he's put in some work on that hero as well, with the Ram Riddle's Bellica also being picked up here. So the lineup from Oxygen NA, it is complete. We got that dual caster comp as well as the Decker for Mario Rivia and Meds' Sevrog. And this is a lineup that we see a lot of comfort heroes for Oxygen NA.
Comfort heroes across for both teams, to be honest. They both, I feel like, have drafted the sort of compositions they wanted to get. Arguably, Team Oxygen gonna have a bit more of a tricky time having to play around the Steel Shield Slam wombo combo that's gonna be coming out here.
And our last pickup for the team is going to be the Twin Blast for Undead Pilot on Carbon. So it just kind of happens that as you get towards the end of the draft, your Rangers are at a premium, especially with the Sparrow being banned out. So we have that burst damage and nice mobility from Undead Pilot this match. And how do you think we're going to see him play? Because usually we see him being able to just push lanes down and get his farm up around the map. But with the dual caster comp from Oxy NA, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be a great situation for him to be able to do that.
Dual casters means he can sit and farm, but he's going to get pushed up in lane, in the off lane. But again, Oxygen A do like to run the double mid. The two guys that sit in that mid lane, which means that they're allowed. He's going to probably have a safe lane as well. Unless Carbon go for a two mid lane as well, they have that option to put two in that mid lane, try and grab early game Raptors with the Grux, who can take it down incredibly quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and I'm ready to go straight into this game one of our second semifinals between Carbon and Oxygen NA.
Yeah, in terms of the dual mid comp from Carbon, it's not really something that I've seen from them. I think that their priority, I think, has usually been to take the safe lane tower first and then rotate over to give Yo and Mikey some farm priority in that lane. But usually it feels like they put him solo for the first couple of minutes and then transition into giving him some priority. But with that being said, we are ready for our first game of our second semifinal of the day between Carbon and Oxygen NA. The Cowboys versus the Carbons. We'll have to see which one of them comes out on top. Let's start up the game in 3, 2, 1, go. And here we are. The matchup that a lot of people expected to be happening in the finals is going to be happening right now in our semis. So there's a possibility for an Oxygen versus Oxygen final. But first, we've got to see if Carbon can be the Wedding Crashers that Nettle could not be in our first series. So let's get right into it and introduce our teams. I, Cameron, will be playing that spoopy Murdoch here. Arsenic on the Howitzer. Murray Ripia playing his signature Decker. Meds, he's going to be handling the Severagun. Finally, Ram Riddles is going to be fragging out on the Belka.
And on Carbon, we have Undead Pilot on that Twin Blast B certified, on the Steel, Shadow on that Rampage, Yo and Mikey on the Gadget, and Blood Mordius on that Grux.
So already we're going to get the words out from the teams, and we already see that priority around the green buff from Oxygen. They want to know when Blood Mordius is hanging out around there, and if they run that dual mid comp like they have been doing for most of these games, it's going to be pretty easy for the Murdoch and Decker to get over there and disrupt that. Also, with the Howitzer being picked up by Howitzer, being picked up by Howitzer, that makes a lot of sense, but by Oxygen NA for Arsenic, it means that it's not going to be Yo and Mikey's Howitzer this time around, so a lot of teams have gone for a ban on that hero. Instead, Oxygen NA pick it up and say, yeah, we've got a good player on that one too.
And instantly, you can see the way they want to play out this game, Carbon. They're going for this freeze on this right lane with Undead Pilot just, tanking a little bit of the creeps at the beginning. It means that it will actually end up pushing it towards him, up towards his tower, and it forces a tricky situation here for Ram Riddles to farm easily.
Yeah, and
also,
one of the ways that we've seen teams get rid of Ram Riddles or do well against him here is they put pressure onto him early, which we see the rock out from Shadon, and Ram Riddles nearly killed off. One hit will do it. Undead Pilot takes the first blood here in that lane, and just as we were talking about it, we see how Ram Riddles can be taken advantage of in this lane.
Yeah, Bellica level 1 against Rampage Rock with a 2-second stun is gonna be really difficult to deal with. I quite like the fact that Carbon haven't gone for that 2 in the mid lane to try and match what Oxygen and A is doing. They've gone instead, let's just put a lot of our focus onto Ram Riddles here. Let's try make sure he cannot farm that easily. We know Yo and Mikey, even though if he gets pushed under the tower, will be able to still get farm fairly safely.
Yeah, and taking advantage of a Ram Riddles at level 1 makes this lane very easy for Carbon. Now, he is going to get levels eventually, but that early advantage is exactly what they needed. And you saw as soon as Ram Riddles got back in the lane, Shadon pulled that rock, and immediately he's going to rotate over towards mid with those buffs spawning. He gets the rock ready in case Oxy and A were willing to try to contest this, but it's just going to be possibly Mario throwing out the stun from the high ground, which is going to be thrown out there, but the buff still ends up going to Blood Mortius.
There is a purple buff going over to Blood and a blue buff going over to Meds. What they're going to be able to do with that is going to be dependent on Blood. He's going to try and find this gank in the mid lane, or he's going to be a ward clearer, like a portable ward, which can just clear out the enemy team's wards. Purple buff can be used to deny a lot of vision as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely useful in the early game. It does require a little bit of time to do it, as Shadon had to jump for every single one of those hits in order to hit the ward. But eventually they do take it down and take some of that river vision away from Oxy NA. And the rotation goes back over to the right lane here as Undead Pilot's still farming and still taking that tower down. Rock pulls Ram Riddles back, and he's going to have to be very careful getting out from underneath this tower here.
As you can see across the board, pretty equal card points except for Undead, who, with that early game kill, has allowed him to hit 8 points. And as we mentioned before, Mikey can farm fairly well in that mid lane, even in a 2v1 situation. He will lose a few more creeps here or there, sitting at 19, but he is ahead of Ram Riddles.
Nice job by Arsenic to keep himself safe on the left lane. He is going to recall back right now. He's been doing well on levels here. I don't really think a steal is going to be too much trouble for him at all, but the goal is just to get up to level 5 on these heroes, and eventually that is going to be the case for B Certified, where he can start to be more aggressive around the map. Now, something that we also need to be worried about is the Raptors. Now, with this tower going down in the right lane, we're possibly going to see very early rotation from Carbon into other lanes, which is going to place Undead Pilot close to those Raptors. Do we see an opportunity in the near future for Carbon to be able to take those?
The second Blood Mortis hits level 5, when he gets that ultimate available to him, it allows him to take Raptors really quickly. Meds has got the invis right now, that purple buff, and is hungry for some first blood.
Yeah, some first blood frenzies on the mid lane. He's going to get the subjugate off into Mikey. Mikey uses the speed gate to try to get out, slows him down with the search and destroy, and Mario is not going to be able to get anything else here. Smashing Guard pulls him back. The damage is there. Can Blood Mortius find the kill? He's going to get nice push back by iCameron, and that search and destroy. Rock from Shadon! Oh my lord, he takes it! That was absolutely insane from Shadon from downtown, killing off Marty Ravia, and this guy is just full of swagger.
I know we'd love to give Shadon a lot of flack on his Rampage rocks, but I don't think anyone's going to be questioning him from that one.
Oh my gosh, if you just hit one of those per game, I may as well pick Rampage for you all the time. Shadon, my guy. He's got a lot going on, but he's got those rocks going on too. And he shows just how good he is with those on the mid lane, securing that kill from Carbon and keeping him going here in this match.
Yeah, it does allow Carbon to get that little bit extra in terms of kills. It's 2-0 for Carbon right now in terms of scoreboard. Towers all still are looking up. However, Oxygen NA's tier 1 on that far side is getting a bit low, and we have hit past the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, so since we're past the 5-minute mark, as you know, the tower armor is going to be decreased there, allowing Undead Pilot to be able to hit this down pretty quickly. Now, Ram Riddles, in terms of letting his tower fall, he doesn't really like that a whole lot, and he's going to be doing his best to keep that creep wave away. But with Rock staring him down in the face, as Shadon has shown, he really does not want to be messing with that one. So I would think that the tower should be falling pretty damn quickly for Carbon.
Yeah, they're going to be able to try and get this pressure on it. They have got a cannon minion creep wave set up now against it. I don't think Ram Riddles is going to be able to do anything about it. That will just be the first tier 1 dropping there. For the side of Carbon, we're probably going to see a lot more rotations now because Cert is sitting at level 5 with that shield.
Oh yeah, and he was just waiting near the mid lane. They're going to have so many heroes here very quickly. And Oxygen NA, they should know that the heroes are incoming to the mid lane, especially with that ward. So they see Shadon there, but they've got to know that something is afoot. With Shadon being there, so many other heroes, they've got to be so careful right now. 5
As I
hero
say, that
rotation in the
Meds,
mid. Meds is like in so much trouble right now. He sees a couple of heroes on the high ground. Oxygen NA, they might just have to give this up as well, because the way that they play, they are much more willing to just keep their lanes farmed, let Arsenic and Ramriddles go, and actually with the lack of aggression that Oxygen are having right now, it's going to allow Carbon to get the first Raptor of the game, and possibly two, as 8 minutes is coming up right now.
straight away, this is the same thing that we've been seeing around this point in the game. Carbon love to try get the Raptors while there's still only one of them up. They take a lot less damage. They do commit a lot of resource to it when they do take it. However, because of the timings and when they do it, they're not losing out every single time. And in fact, we can see the difference in card point levels that gives straight away to Carbon, with Undead Pilot sitting at 15 points.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So usually the case with Oxygen NA is, even though they might give up a little bit in the early game, they've usually been able to outfarm their opponents pretty heavily, and it usually starts out with just a little. But with the pressure put on the Ramriddles early, and you know, the rest of the team not really doing so well, the card points are pretty even at, well, not the card points, but the minion kills are pretty even at this point, and the card points slightly in favor of Carbon.
Yeah, it's all onto Undead Pilot. They're really funneling a lot of these resources. The early Raptors, they managed to get a kill on him as well in the early stages of the game. It's looking.
Oh,
like...
smash and grab pulls Mario Rivia down into the river, but he has the rocket jump to get back up. Wow, so good awareness, and the Colossal Blow pushes Yo and Mikey back, and Blood Moraes doesn't really have anything to be able to help Yo and Mikey on the mid lane. Mr. Mikey, I'm Yo. He is going to end up falling there with a nice rotation from Meds, had the purple buff and the Colossal Blow to knock him back into a lot of trouble there.
Yeah, the purple buff being used to its effectiveness.
Arsenic actually getting killed by Undead Pilot as well, so he got caught out a little bit by Shadon and used the landmine pretty well, but just the burst damage from long range allowed Undead Pilot to kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we got the smash onto Mario Rivia, killing him. Smashing Grab pulls a couple minions back, looking for iCameron there, and he's just going to keep on keeping on farming in this lane. So aggression all over the map from Carbon. They know what they need for every single engagement, and it seems like Oxygen cannot escape the aggression anywhere on the map.
While Oxygen did manage to get that one pick off on Yo and Mikey, the counter engage coming out from Carbon right now allows them to get two more off the bat and start to put pressure on the other side of the map onto this tower. They probably won't get it with this first wave. The next wave, most likely going to be able to push that tier 1 tower. Undead Pilot putting out a lot of damage, sitting at 16 card points with 3 card points unspent. So it's looking like Carbon are taking the advantages here in the early stages of the game, even when it looks like it was against them.
And I feel like this is something that they're going to be able to continue to keep pushing, with B Certified having that shield slam many times here. So I like what Carbon do with the rotation over to the left side, and they're going to be getting those wards out, making sure that they don't lose anything out to the Sevarog rotations, which Meds is going to keep trying to do here, but can't quite find anything when he had the green buff. So they rotate over to left, put some damage on the tower, but for now, Undead Pilot wants to take advantage of his card point collection that he is amassing right now.
Straight away, Shadon instantly on that river buff at the 11-minute mark has got the purple buff. I suspect we're going to see Shadon try and go across the jungle, try and get a gank, but there is a lot of defensive wards from Oxygen A, and he will be scouted out here.
And there's not really a whole lot for him to do in that lane either. The tier 1 tower already been taken. He's just kind of walking over there, as I'm getting a little bit of lag on my client in particular. That's in game though, not on the stream. So hopefully that gets fixed just by the graphics card catching up. But it's interesting that Sharon has chosen to rotate, leaving Undead Pilot mostly on his own here.
Undead Pilot, because of how far ahead he is, there isn't going to be too much that can actually pressure him. In the 1v1 scenario, Undead will be able to actually duel out Arsenic for a lot of it, unless Undead makes a very grave mistake here, which isn't going to be likely.
Yeah, in fact, Undead Pilot is probably going to be the aggressor here pretty soon if Shadon is able to hit one of those rocks on the Arsenic. Oh, but meanwhile, Blood Moraes is going to go right for iCameron on the mid lane, and the stun comes out from Decker. Now, iCameron gets underneath the safety of his own tower, is still bleeding out, but he is going to be fine with a containment fence ending up saving him. That is a long cooldown ability, but as long as you're keeping iCameron alive, it's probably safe. Now, Meds also here uses the Phantom Rush to go and gets the Subjugate out onto Shadon, pushes him back with the Colossal Blow, but he's got the Enrage going here, and Undead Pilot puts in some huge damage, wants to go underneath the tower, looking for some damage on the Meds, cannot quite get it, and he would have had to go pretty far for that one. So Meds gets out, Shadon gets out, and everybody seems to be safe on the left lane.
It is safe, but meanwhile, Blood Mordius straight onto this Raptor. Gonna hand it over to Undead Pilot, most likely. Keep this card lead that Undead has amassed upon him. And we can see the other lanes looking fairly equal across the board. Mikey using that Tesla Dome just to push out the wave so he can just get that recall. And river buffs are up again. So is going straight towards that black buff.
Remember that this is yet another best of 3, so whichever team loses this one does have the opportunity to come back in game number 2. Meanwhile, at mid, Be Certified, he's taking a little bit of damage from these guys. Stun comes out from Marty Rivia, but it seems like the communication wasn't quite there. Cameron on the low ground, trying to put a little bit of damage over towards Be Certified, but he can't really find the range that he needs to be able to do that. So Blood Mortis comes in from the side, and he'll be able to take the reins on the mid lane as Be Certified gets back to the safety of his own tower and is able to recall.
Yeah, Blood Mortis just taking up the slack for the mid lane, just trying to get that farm, protect the tower. However, Oxygen and Egg straight up trying to put pressure here. We can see Meds sitting in the enemy jungle. They know Blood Mortis had to recall. Just take a few of the camps right there and just try and look for something. But the thing is, Oxygen A have been constantly looking for things across the map, but haven't actually been able to take much. They got that one kill on your Mikey early on, but even then, the counter engage came out from Carbon, and it's looking like Carbon are slowly just incrementally increasing their lead.
Yeah, while Meds might be putting some pressure into the enemy jungle, they have lost the Raptors here. So the question is that actually going to be enough to keep Oxyene in this match? Now, Ram Riddles, he hasn't been really touched for the majority of this match. He did, have a little bit of pressure put on him in the early game, but for now, there hasn't really been a whole lot of attention given to him, and I think that Ram is completely okay with that. Just building the adamant edges and keeping his farm going here in the lane, but the advantage is not very high at all. In fact, the card points are, they're definitely stacking up for Undead Palette right now.
Yeah, even though Ram Riddles has been farming incredibly well, he's been left in that lane, the Raptor differences are much larger. You can see 4-point difference if we're looking at Undead to Ram Riddles. Undead Pilot sitting at 24 card points 14 minutes into this game.
Interesting bit of rotations over towards the river buffs. Meds takes the black buff, but he has taken a huge amount of damage here. Subjugate out onto Yo and Mikey as Meds gets away from danger there. He is underneath the ward, but really doesn't have any time to do anything about it at all. Shadon getting the D ward off, and Meds was forced back into his jungle, but can Shadon actually... No, he's going to go for the Ember Link right now. But on the mid lane, perhaps some aggression from Be Certified is in order pretty soon. Oh, Cameron is going to not get hit by that shield slam, not hitting onto anything. Now the Tesla Dome dropped down as we've got Blood Mortis getting the smash and grab onto Maribia, but they're going underneath the tower. Continuing Defense is going to keep 2 in as a beautiful seismic assault from Belka and Ram Middles helps to secure 2 of those kills there, with Cameron also helping out. Beautiful containment friends from Marty, keeping them inside the tower range, and that was just some greed from Carbon.
Huge blunders coming out from Carbon right now. Allows Oxygenate to get 2 kills right there off the bat, potentially even a tower here in the mid lane. That shield slam being missed by Certified.
Yeah, it just was not good at all with the Sevarog rotating over towards the left lane. The mid lane tower absolutely going down to Oxygen NA, so they are able to strike out on one of those towers and actually should make it 2 here with Ram Rules pushing up on the right lane tower as well. Arsenic is going to get killed by Shadon, who went man mode underneath the tower. But these guys are going right for Undead Pilot, and Med's on top of him as well. So it is the Ranger for the Arsenic core, but it's also a lot of towers going to Oxygen NA as well.
They do manage to get a couple of towers. However, if we look at that last fight, Meds did miss the Colossal Ball, but Marty Rivia came in to save the day with that stasis bomb, just coming over the wall, over that little gap between the gold buff and taking out Undead Pilot, allowing Meds to just clean him off really cleanly there. You can see the fact that those couple of kills now, Ram Middles has started to catch up. He is the furthest ahead on his team, and he's only slightly now behind Undead Pilot. The rest of the team are at about the same level, with Med sitting at 19 points, being the lowest right now.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting to me to see Ram Riddles get involved in that last fight. He had to rotate over towards the mid lane, and he did quite a bit of work there after taking that tower. So usually we'll see Ramriddles, he just loves to farm, doesn't get involved too often, but that time he was right where he needed to be when his team needed it, which just goes to show how effective they are in their communication and the rotations around the map early. Another Raptor taken by Carbon, so they're going to keep that going the way of Undead Pilot. But, you know, eventually, the rest of Oxygen NA, the thing about the Raptors is they only give card points to one of the members, and we see a few of the guys on Oxygen NA starting to get a little bit ahead here, as the Tier 1 tower is going to be killed off by Carbon.
They are going to get that Tier 1 tower. Good rotation coming up from Carbon. They do have their whole team there, except, Mikey did decide to recall there. And
yeah, so
there isn't much more for Carbon to take here either. I mean, they do take that tower. They probably want to go for a fight here.
Well, they might want to go for a fight, but the Subjugate and the Stasis Bomb hits on to Shadon, who took about half of his health here, but that is a rampage that they are trying to go for, and it's really not the best idea right now, with Carbon having most of the control around the jungle area. Now, Shadon is just waiting for that rock. He's gotten quite a bit of health right now, and he was even going for that taunt, trying to entice Mario for going for anything here. Tower is down. So Oxygen and I have a little bit of space to work with here as they go for some aggression, but Beast Fight has shown up and he has the Shield Slam, probably won't be missed this time around, so he's looking for a good one, as they've also got a Howitzer pushing in the left lane, so it's not like Carbon can defend this for all that long.
No, they won't be able to defend it for too long. They don't have any of their mages there. But what they do, however, have is this a big wombo combo.
They've got the wombo combo. Colossal Blow into a Subjugate. Beast Certified looking for that ult. Is going to hit it on the 3. Beautiful ult from him as a Smashing Grab also pulls 2 back. Now, we've got Shadon dead. Mets is also dead with iCameron getting out of trouble there. Undead Pilot absolutely blown up. That was way too far up for a Twin Blast as Blood Warriors gets into the fight as well. Beast Certified rather low. Can Arsenic kill him? It would take one more hit. Is going to get it, as also the a lot of heroes end up dying here. It's 4 on the side of Carbon, as I can't even see the pictures moving through the top of the screen here. But, you know, it is going to lead to a Tier 2 tower being taken by Oxygen NA. Possibly, no, without a minion wave, it's probably not going to end up being any more. But these heroes are getting rather low. Can you and Mikey find anything? Looking for a hat? Cannot get it just yet. And Oxygen NA, they are so hungry for this Tier 2 tower. With the minion wave arriving now, we'll see if they're able to get it. Spawns are just coming up from Carbon, and they should be able to take this tower down. Hat put on the Maririvia. They use what they need to, and they'll take the jump pads away from Carbon.
Really strong play coming out from Ramriddles in that fight. Managing to take out Shadon right away at the beginning with that knock-up, with the ultimate coming out as well, and I don't know. It looked like a good, strong Carbon fight, but Shadon wasn't allowed to really do anything at the beginning. He kind of got removed, wasn't allowed to be a menace, and the protection that they gave over to iCameron allowed him to, even though he got really low, to constantly stick in that fight and keep putting out damage.
And also the left lane Tier 2 tower also took a lot of damage from Arsenic, setting the wave and making it push against Carbon, setting that wave to push. And they did quite a large chunk of damage there as well, so it forced Carbon to have to go and defend that when they were up. And it also allowed Arsenic to join that fight, so he did quite a bit of work there. The rest of Oxygen NA, of course, did a lot of work there. Carbon's still getting their Raptors, but they're losing a lot of map control right now as Meds goes in with the Colossal Blow on the Beast Certified. Beast Certified uses the Shield Slam to get to the high ground. Is he going to be able to stay alive off of that? Trees are all in the way right now as Carbon take the Raptor and get away with their lives. I'm not really too worried about using a Shield Slam there. It should be off cooldown fairly soon.
Yeah, that's not going to be too much of an issue coming out from Carbon because they managed to grab those Raptors. Still trying to keep that lead that they did have on Undead, and which they don't have anymore because of those previous fights. Riddles been farming incredibly well. Highest farm across the board, 33 card points, and iCameron sitting at 30, only a couple of points behind Undead right now.
Yeah, and he seems to be definitely trying to sell us one of the most interesting items in the game, the Adamant Edge. He's built up 4 of those exactly.
It is the most loved item here by Oxygen NA. That and Madstone Gem. Madstone Gem's the other one. It's a 2-point card, provides similar stats, but without the health.
Well, Madstone Gem, I think, is beloved by pretty much everybody in the Paragon scene. It has been for a while. And check out this aggression from Oxygen NA. They'll get the Subjugate out on the Blood Warriors. Warriors Challenge used to stop Meds in the aggression. but Oxygen NA, they're looking very scary here as they're also putting some pressure on the inhib. Don't really see a chance in them being able to get it right now as Ramros puts the Void Drone a little bit underneath the tower. Undead Palette has to be a little bit careful of Oxy inside the jungle, but this is a little bit strange from them. I guess they don't really feel like they can go for the OP right now, but they're still putting a lot of pressure onto the Carbon side of the map.
They're just trying to control what Carbon can and can't do. I don't believe they can take the Orb Prime quick enough. They don't have vision control of the Orb Prime pit itself. They do, however, have really strong vision control of Carbon's jungle, so they can see if anyone is going to come and rotate to try and disrupt them from taking that Orb Prime. I feel like they don't want to risk it just yet, because any sort of counter engage coming out from Carbon, if we get Mikey dropping that Tesla Dome on the Orb Prime pit.
Shadon able to dodge around that stun bubble and put some damage on the Maririvia, but this does not really look like a fight that he wants to stay in too long, and indeed he does not. Is going to jump away from that one. With the ultimate being down, we'll see what Oxygen NA are able to do after that, but Carbon, they're looking very disorganized right now with Bloodmore's hit with the stun just as he was trying to go for the charge. He uses the Warlord's challenge. He's doing everything he can. Shield Slam on Kai Cameron. He's going to get killed off here with Bloodmore staying alive. He's still alive. Okay, he's going to be killed off by the slow bubble of Maririvia, and they're trying to get some work done here. Containment Fence drop down as Ramros is doing everything he can to put out some damage, but Carbon are arriving in full force. Maririvia underneath the Void Drone, but I don't think that's going to protect him at all. Uses the jump to get the high ground, but he's got a hat. He's got Shadon chasing him down. Ramros trying to do some damage in the mid lane, taking Undead Pilot rather low, but can he do anything here against Carbon? Oxygen NA, they have to back up, and they are licking their wounds back to the base right now.
2-for-1 trade out there. It did look like Bloodmordius was going to fall down straight away. Manages to stay up just a little bit longer, just enough for Certified to come in there with that shield slam straight onto Cameron, and allows him to take that really strong 2v1 counter engage. And it looks like Certified might be having some internet troubles right now. Oh, nope, he's back.
All right, well, that is a good thing. We definitely do not want any internet troubles that have played Carbon in the past. But in terms of Carbon, they regrouped pretty quickly in getting back into that last fight, and they managed to turn it pretty well with a beautiful ultimate from Beastert with the shield slam, keeping Blood alive for that extra couple of seconds, forcing Oxygen to commit a little bit harder to try and kill him. And also Cameron seemed to be a little bit too far in, and that set up the kill on him that allowed the damage to not really be there when the containment fence was used by Mari. So it was Be Certified that set up most of that fight from Carbon, and we'll have to keep an eye on him for the rest of the match just to make sure that he doesn't get up to any of those extra shenanigans where he just completely turns fights.
In terms of card points though, Ramriddles is sitting at 38 card points. Undead still, because of all those Raptors, they keep funneling into him. Yet he's another one that he's taking right now, sitting at an impressive 42 card points. If we look across the board, Meds is at 28, Blood is at 28. The junglers are about equal. Arsenic is at 34, Mikey 33. Not too much of a difference there. Marty and Shaden still about the same, and Ramriddles is where the big difference is right now. And Undead and Cameron as well. So it's not too much difference either side of the board. We're probably going to be setting up for this Orb Prime right here, because it's getting to that point of the game where Orb Prime can be a big decider.
Oh, Maririvia, he wants to get up to the high ground. Void Zone drop down, and then beautiful stun bubble. Stun locked by Bloodmorius. He's going to hit with the Subjugate as well. He's got a hat on his head, but he is in a lot of trouble. Colossal blow. Not even needed as Cameron finished him off with the long arm of the law. That's one down, giving Oxygen NA the man advantage as they possibly could look for some more objectives or take down the OP. Now, it's not really a said and done thing here. Be Certified can come in with another shield slam, but Oxygen NA, they're making a big play for the Prime, and Carbon, they're in an okay position to be able to try to defend it. But Mikey has to get into the pit pretty soon as Be Certified is being zoned away by Arsenic. Rockets coming in as that OP is getting lower and lower. Meds is pretty low. Oh, nice containment fence by Maririvia as Be Certified nearly killed. Needs to use the shield slam to get out, and that is perfect for Marty as it forces that shield slam out. Meds nearly killed. Undead Palette should be able to get that one, but he is a little bit far in. Prime hasn't been taken, and it won't be taken right now. Ramriddle's in on the backside of this fight, There's going to be a lot of damage placed down. Tesla Dome on the Ram Rails. He's going to get the ultimate out on the Undead Pilot, taking him out, but he's going to die in return. Blinken by UI Mikey wants to get aggressive on the Arsenic. Arsenic throws out the rocket, but UI Mikey is going to turn around, get the kill. Cameron is now dead. Mario Review looking for a kill. He takes down the Gadget, and it's just going to be 1v1 boxing at the pit for now. But that was a terrible fight for Oxygen NA as they lose 4.
However, Carbon did technically lose 4 as well with how that turned out. They had Blood already dead beforehand, so it's still pretty equal across the board. Neither team gaining a significant advantage there. However, Carbon still haven't taken down some of these tier 1 towers. They're going to be able to have a little bit of free breathing room with 2 of their stronger bruisers still up. Just take this tier 1, give them a little bit of control, try get some wards into the jungle here. I don't think much more is going to be happening here. And a tier 2 here from Shaden.
Yeah, this is a situation where Carbon have so much pressure on the lanes that although they still had a tier 1 up, Carbon are very quickly shredding through these tier 2 towers, and they might actually lose. I mean, they might be able to take all of them right now with Meds just getting into that left lane to defend one of them. But that was a big play from Carbon. They take Oxygen NA out of the pit, and they nearly kill off all of these outer towers, leaving it just at some naked inhibs from Oxygen NA. So this map control that we were talking about from Oxygen NA, it's all but evaporated for now.
Yeah, they have lost a lot of that map pressure. Look at the ward pressure coming out straight away from Carbon, straight into the enemy jungle. They also reclaimed that All Prime vision. And again, Undead Pilot straight onto the Raptor. As has been the name of the game, the Raptor has been going to Undead, and it's just kept him really ahead in farm throughout the game. But it's looking, again, I mean, those extra towers are going to help, but it's going to be decided around this All Prime again.
Yeah, Prime is just such a big impact in all of these games, and it might start with a pickoff as Yo and Mikey hanging out near Meds, but doesn't really want to go in on that one, especially with Meds taking care of the vision, just aware of what Oxygen could have behind Meds as he went for that D word. So these guys still trying to make sure that they have lane control, and Carbon have shown that it's not really safe at all for Oxygen to try to take a Prime right now. So this elemental battle still going on here as both these teams very close, and Oxygen NA haven't really found that subtle advantage that they usually build up across the game. They're just very even right now, with even Undead Pilot getting all those Raptors being pretty far ahead at this point.
Yeah, the thing is, Undead Pilot doesn't have any sort of great protection. I mean, the way they protect Undead Pilot is by going full in on the enemy damage dealers. They don't actually have many shields coming out here or big blocking abilities here to save Undead Pilot. So if Meds can get onto him and reposition him, that could be it for Undead as well.
Yeah, so the thing about Carbon is they have to be able to capitalize on Undead Pilot's advantage here, which means that they have to keep him alive. Even with all those card points, it can be pretty easy to kill a Twin Blast if you can get on top of him. That goes for most Rangers in the game. So Undead Pilot is going to be able to have to stay on top of his blink shot, as well as make sure that he doesn't get too far ahead and put himself into too much trouble, because his team can save him with some CC, but he has to be able to be saved by them, and I think that's more of the challenge.
Yeah, it's always going to be. There's one thing we don't really talk about is Sevrog stacks. I believe the main reason we don't usually bring it up is
because we can't see it.
Yeah, because we can't count them, but we can see he's getting close to that 140 mark, I believe, because he's got 140 creeps. He's also got the level 3. He's probably going to be about 30 or 40 stacks away from that at this point in time, which is going to be a pretty big advantage here for Oxygen NA.
Yeah, so any kind of deficiency that Sevrog might have in card points is made up a little bit by those stacks. Oh, nice stun out on the Shadow from Mario Rivia. Can he jump out of this one? He's going to try to tank out as much as possible, and the rest of his team, they are kind of in the area. Subjugate not going to hit from Meds as Mario Rivia wants to chase this one a little bit more. Meanwhile, Sevrog is playing against Bloodmories in the middle of the river, and they're just kind of duking it out for now with Meds not really getting the better of that situation at all. And the re-engage from Carbon is going to be there. Mario Rivia jumps to the high ground, gets hit by the rock. There's a seismic assault. Nice little bait from him, but the bait is not going to work out too well at all as Mario Rivia is going to be the first death. Beast Certified about to be killed, is going to be hit by Ramros as the long middle comes through here. Colossal Blow hits Bloodmories into the wall, and Carbon are just not really doing anything in this fight at all. Can Bloody Morris Blood Warriors stay alive. Mez subjugate hits. It's a kill. Mez is going to be able to make sure that it is a 3-for-1 in favor of Oxygen NA, and we'll have to see what kind of objectives they can take after that one. Most of their heroes staying alive.
They don't have any of the minion waves in their advantage right now, so Carbon do have a little bit of free time here. They're most likely going to survive. Their inhibitors won't fall. NA cannot go for that all prime. They don't have vision control, and with Yo and Mikey still being up, can actually be a big threat right there. Just dropping the Tesla Dome can potentially just steal the orb. So 3-for-1 trade in favor of Oxygen, but not much to take from it.
Yeah, they'd have to keep these waves out of their base. They have to make sure they have the map control before they do too much, and right now it's probably just going to be a couple of D wards for Oxygen as they get towards the pit once again, trying to take advantage of these respawns. iCameron gets into the pit. They don't really mind that there is Yo and Mikey sitting in the background with that gadget. Perhaps they can zone her out. Don't know if they've gotten any vision of her right now. She's sitting up on the high ground behind the fog wall near the gold buff. They are going to go for the OP with Undead Pilot getting a little bit of vision. Now he's a bit far in. Landmine is going to hit, and Mario Rivia hits the stun onto him as well. Void Drone comes down, and Undead Pilot takes a lot of damage from it. Yo and Mikey coming around the side. They're going to try to go for the steal. Tesla don't drop down, but it's going to go the way of Oxygen NA. Meds is trying to get away right now, trying to keep that prime buff on him, but the hat is going to be shared with him. Sharing is caring, and it looks like they absolutely care here. Shadon trying to man mode as much as possible here, but he's working against a prime buff. Arsenic has taken down Be Certified, and with 2 members down on Carbon, Oxygen NA might have just nailed the coffin down. They're not going to have a Sevarog for this push, so it's not all said and done just yet, but Oxygen NA have a huge advantage when they go for these pushes.
You could see how close that All Prime was for Oxygen NA. Carbon had just started to respawn and make their way there, and it was looking pretty close. I mean, the Tesla Dome could have stolen it, but a lot of the burst was saved from Oxygen A. They do manage to secure it, and Ram Riddle's putting out a huge amount of damage right there on that Bellica.
Yeah, he was doing some good work there. And eventually Oxygen NA will arrive at this lane in full force. Now a couple of respawns coming up from Carbon, and Be Certified should be able to do some real damage here once he gets up, but it's going to take 7 seconds for that to happen, and it might be too long in order to save this inhib. Landmine pushes on the pallet back. The missile comes in from the howitzer to try to take that down, but the minions are going for the inhib. Nice Warlord challenge on the 3 by Blood Warriors, but the Maker Marine is going to drop down, zoning out all of Carbon rather, and the inhib nearly dead. iCameron taking some damage here, is going to blink away. Oh, nice steal slam from Be Certified out on the 4, and they're going to try to clean up here as Carbon, they just lost their inhib, but they might be able to find a little bit more. Now Mario Rivia doing some damage to Shadow, but the damage is not quite able to kill him off here. Blood Warriors chasing Ramrails, can't find anything, so we're back to the back of this fight. Marty is killed, and oh, they've actually lost another tier 2. So the creep wave is pushing in on the left lane, something that Carbon are going to have to deal with. Subjugate nearly hits on the Yo and Mikey, but a nice dodge from him is going to keep him safe from meds. Looking for the siphons, the colossal blow. There's going to hit him back, and the Tesla Dome is going to be dropped down. Blood Warriors looking to punish meds for this kind of aggression, and they are rather low. Meds is not going to pursue that any further, but he might go for some more. Well, he's going to be inside the jungle right now, so he'll just keep on farming for now, knowing that Carbon have to defend their lanes from the minions, as the first inhib of the game goes the way of Oxygen NA.
They do manage to get that inhibitor. They also do get the tier 2 on that far side of the map. It's looking like they overextended a little bit when they went for that inhibitor, but it isn't in the end of the world. They still have people. It's getting to that point in the game where people are starting to hit 60 card points. Undead sitting at 59, almost there. Ramriddle's at 57. Only a few more points here and there. Talking about builds, we haven't really been talking about it.
Adamant Edge.
Infinity Stream coming out from Ramriddle's, giving him the mana regen that scales with the current percent of his mana, along with Hydroverse, which gives him power equal to how much mana he currently has, which I'm quite liking. He's got a lot of actual ability penetration in his build, and then a couple of bits of power, which is a bit different. You don't see that in a lot of mid laners. A lot of mid laners go for straight power. I really quite like what he's doing, and he's just shredding through the armor that the supports are building and the tanks are building, allowing him to take out that front line of Carbon.
Well, I currently have a health bug on iCameron, so hopefully it doesn't really end up mattering too much. Just remember that when he dies, he's dead, but I'm pretty sure that he's not sitting at 0 health for me. Interesting that we're having that bug once again. Always loving to see these bugs popping up in Paragon as Oxygen, NA, and Carbon just wrestle for control of these lanes right now.
Yeah, they are pushing up this lane. I mean, this is the thing. Both teams are pretty equal in card points, so when the orb is down, it's going to be really determined on who can get a pick, who can get that vision control, who can get the lanes pushing in their favor before they take a fight. Because at this point in the game, if they have one of these waves in favor, they can take an inhib, or they can. Those minion waves can then force a secondary objective.
Well, with the Prime buff not being on Oxygen anymore, Carbon are the ones going for some aggression. The stun comes out from Marty, not going to hit Subjugate, not on either. And this is probably going to have to be an Oxygen NA disengage, as they pretty much miss every single ability, trying to force back Carbon, which does work, but they don't get any kills off of it.
Now, again, the thing is, NA don't have to actually force anything. Oxygen, they can just sit there, wait up for all prime, and then push out this mid lane, and then go to all prime and force someone from Carbon to deal with this mid lane. Card points are getting to that point in the game where they don't matter as much. Young Mikey 55 points, iCameron 52 points, Ram Riddles and Undead both at 60. You'd expect a lot more to be funneled into iCameron, but Ram Riddles has been farming incredibly well and has been taking control of a lot of these team fights. And it's going to be a matter of who can set up their lanes correctly before a fight. Who can get that advantage of the minion waves pushing in their favor.
Yeah, and Carbon have to be especially aware of where the mid lane is. Undead has been pushing that one out for the most part, making sure that that's not going to be a problem. But you kind of get that rubber band effect as they push back in towards the lane. Now, Be Certified is trying to man mode up against Ram Riddles. Has to be a little bit careful here, especially with that drone there. He can easily have most of his mana stolen away, so it's not really a playground for a steal. He has to be very careful of what the Belka can do, and he's going to take care of that Void Drone, but already he's lost pretty much all of his mana, like every single point of it nearly. Maybe has enough for the shield slam, and Ram Riddles is feeling pretty aggressive right now with Undead Palette saying over on the side is not going to be hit at all, but he's actually invis right now, so he is going to be completely safe against Meds scouting through the jungle, and indeed he is going to be able to see exactly where that Sevrog is, as Oxygen NA looking for a little bit more map control, but Meds has been scouted out now, and he's got to be really careful. He is tanky, but he's not that tanky.
Also, Young Mikey, I want to go back. If we're going to go back to builds, Young Mikey's build is also incredibly interesting. Has a cast converter in that, which he can then consume some of his mana to give himself some health regen. It's like a pseudo pot. The card itself gives you some mana, and then he's got a lot of ability penetration as well into that. But Magna Lens with mana regen. I mean, it's been a weird meta change. A lot of people just build a lot of power. However, we're seeing different builds coming out here with a lot of these mages electing to go for some regen, allows them to set in the lane, and a lot of ability penetration in comparison to what we used to see.
So Yoan Mike wants to make sure that most of his damage is going through with the ability damage, so he's gone for... It's nice actually to see a bunch of these builds coming through when a lot of these players are getting up to 60 points, because it's something that we don't always get to see in a lot of these matches. Sometimes the matches are just over too fast that we don't get to see full out builds from the players, so we can start to see where those certain build decisions are going as the match moves on.
Yeah, it's getting to that point in the game where they are going to just have that full build set up. They won't be getting any more powerful, so Ram Riddles out now is at the strongest he will be all game. Same goes for Undead, whereas a lot of the other members, I mean, Med still has a lot of room to grow. He has 49 card points, still has a lot he can do in terms of gaining power. Again, Splinter Block Vest, haven't seen that card since the early
I'll hold that thought with the Prime about to spawn. There's a lot of action around the pit. Blood Moyes is going to be knocked back and cooled off by Oxygen NA first. Kill off there as Prime has spawned, and Oxygen are trying to take the positioning around the pit. Now, Be Certified is nowhere near, actually, as he is off trying to push in the left lane. And meanwhile, Rivia is zoning a couple of these heroes out. Shadow goes in the ultimate form, is going to get the enrage as Cameron is just fighting against the OP right now. Shadow into the pit. There's not so much that he can do. Oh, subjugate onto Undepal. He's in a lot of trouble right now. Colossal Blow is going to knock him back as the Prime is taken by Cameron. I don't really see Undepal getting out of this one. Oh, Meds is going to just chase him down, and that hammer is swinging. The deaths are coming. Meds is coming to take his prize. He's going to kill off Undead Pilot, and Oxygen NA with the Prime buff are about to go straight down the mid lane and try to take the W in game number 1 of this best of 3. Here they come. Ramriddle's leading the way. Shadow with his rock. He is the only one trying to defend this one right now. Yoan Mikey is going to eventually get over there, and here they go. Cameron, he's doing so much damage right now, and Shadow is going to have to try to take care of him, but the core is in trouble. They're going to ignore the rock, dude, and they'll go right for it. Oxygen NA take game number 1 against Carbon in what has become nearly a tradition for them over the past couple of weeks.
It was looking like a really strong game from Carbon in the early stages of the game. Carbon were ahead on card points. They had strong control of the Raptors. However, I think this all started when that mid lane gank failed for Carbon. It allowed a couple of kills to go over to Oxygen A with an incredibly strong containment kill coming out from Marty. And that gave them their in to just take bits back into this game and take this victory slowly, as we saw a really strong couple of all Prime fights, and that was it.
So this is a best of 3, and Carbon are not out of it just yet. And Oxygen, they've still got to deal with these organic boys. So it was a good match from both teams, but in the end, it just turns out to be positioning and a Prime take that allowed Oxygen to get the victory. So these teams, they're not separated by much. We'll have to see if that separation changes at all in game number 2, because these teams are some of the most well-matched in Paragon right now, as we've seen over the past couple of PCLs and other tournaments in the scene.
Yeah, they've been doing incredibly well. Really consistent performances across the board, across these teams. Constant final placement, constant semi-final placements. And it's just really strong matches in general. I mean, I want to see how they're going to change up this game, what they're going to do to potentially make this game different. We did see the Sparrow ban coming out, and I'd be interested to see if that is still going to be the case.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit strange, but I think that Oxygen NA are one of those teams where you can ban out a couple of things, but you still have to deal with so many comfort heroes for them. They're very accomplished on a lot of things, and so are Carbon. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up getting focused on in the draft for game number 2. But before we get there, we do have to go to a break. But before we do even that, we do have a couple of housekeeping things. So hashtag join the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag PCL in order to get involved and possibly have your tweet featured on stream. We do have people on that all day, so thank you for getting involved in that conversation, and we'd love to be able to hear from you and make you a little bit more famous on our PCL stream. Also, check out the exclamation Matcherino in the chat to put a donation into the prize pool for these players to make it a little bit more worth for them to play. I'm sure they love the competition, but a little bit of money for some Happy Meals is not that bad either. So thank you to you guys for watching, and we'll be back with game number 2 of this best of 3 set between Oxygen NA and Carbon in just a few moments. Stay that channel.